Hey everybody, Espira, and Bandai just had their product presentation where they talked about all of their different card games that they have over in Japan. So Union Arena, Fusion World, One Piece, Digimon, and of course the newly announced Gundam game. And we actually got a lot of details, things from how the game plays, to a few card reveals, to some super pre-release style events, which is really exciting. As you guys can tell, I'm kind of traveling abroad now, so kind of got a mobile setup, but nevertheless, we're gonna get the video and break down everything that we just saw, including a bunch of spicy reveals. So we're just going to jump right in to take a look at how things play, kind of the things that they've announced, and then we'll dive card by card on everything that we've seen so far. All right, so this is actually my second time going over everything that we've seen because it turns out my mic source wasn't actually connected to this scene the first time around. All right, let's do it again. So to kick it off, this is the presentation. So if you guys want to see more details and kind of see what Bandai talked things through, the official Gundam card game channel on YouTube actually has a re-uploaded version of the presentation with English captions. So we can kind of get the perspectives there and of course listen to the different voice actors from Gundam being able to talk about the game as well. But alongside the presentation, they've actually updated their website. So here we actually have their updated website with things of like news, how to play guide, and all that kind of jazz. So we're going to take a look at the play guide first, kind of get an idea of how the game really comes together. And then after that, look at some news that they have on the website. And then finally, cards. We've got quite a few cards to be able to look over that I've been able to scramble together based on reveals from the presentation, the current website, this one here. And then actually Spiel is a game show going on in Europe right now, and they have showcased some of the cards there. So we've actually seen how some of the alt arts for the game are going to look, and they look awesome. So I'm super excited to be able to talk about those. So with the play guide, kick it off, how do we play the game? So your victory condition, there are two ways to be able to win the game. The game ends when either player wins by satisfying one of the following victory conditions. You deal battle damage to your opponent when they have no cards in their shield area. So it's more so like Digimon and One Piece, where you need to clear all the shields and deal the last damage, as opposed to Fusion World, where once you take your last life, it's all over. Or your opponent has no cards in deck. Be mindful, it's not like at the start of your turn if you don't have cards in your deck, or if you draw and there's no cards there. It's just once you have no more cards in your deck, it is over. So it's more like a Fusion World on that sense. Necessary for play: a 50 card deck, a 10 card resource deck. So this game plays more like One Piece, where you have a Dawn deck, you have a resource deck. Token cards, a lot of different tokens in this game that we'll be talking about and seeing there. And then damage counters. So damage counters are relevant because damage actually sticks in this game. But what we'll see is that whenever units combat, they'll actually maintain the damage turn over turn. Does allow combat to be a little bit more fluid in terms of managing taking down a big body over multiple turns or something of the sort, or being able to sustain your units over multiple turns. So something to keep in mind there. Within the 50 card deck, there are 4 different cards. You have unit cards, pilot cards, command cards, and base cards. And we'll actually go over what those cards are in just a sec. A deck contains exactly 50 cards, of which you can contain up to 2 colors. So we are utilizing the Lorcana method here, where you get to take 2 colors and blend them together into one deck. While it's not the flexibility of being able to play whatever you want in a deck, I can appreciate that because we have a universal resource system, then it makes it a little bit more balanced, that we can't just play everything under stun and just play good stuff piles no matter what. And then you can have up to 4 cards of a singular copy in a deck, of course, just like any other Bandai game. 4 ofs is a playset. So now we dive into the different card types. So we got units. So these are like your battle cards, your character cards. Units are deployed into the battle area, and you can have up to 6 of them in play at any point in time. Units cannot attack on the turn they are deployed, so summoning sickness is a thing in this game, but they can start attacking the turn after. When a unit is paired with a pilot, so when you play a pilot, you're actually pairing it to a unit card, and the link requirements are fulfilled, that unit becomes a link unit and can attack immediately on the turn they are deployed. So what they mean by the link requirement here is actually on the bottom here. Of course, every Gundam, every mech has its preferred pilot, has its star pilot. And then that is kind of the link together. So any pilot can go with any Gundam to provide it some stats or provided abilities, but there are special conditions for link pairs that 1, allow the card to be able to attack right away, and 2, may potentially give it special abilities depending on the card. Then we got pilot cards. A pilot is paired with a unit in a battle area by placing it underneath the unit. This is where the Digimon components come in, because you place it under the unit and then you gain those additional abilities. You get some inheritance abilities. Each unit can pair with 1 pilot. When a pilot is paired with a unit, it gets the AP and HP, so the attack power and the health points, listed on the pilot card. So here up top, we can see that this Gundam here is a 3/4. If we were to attach Soletta to this Gundam, she would give an additional +1, making it a 4 attack, and then +2, making it a 6 HP card. Additionally, the paired unit gets the listed abilities a pilot can pair with any unit. So here, there's a little bottom text box here. These are the inheritable abilities that unit will get. Then we've got command cards. Command cards are your one-time usage cards, your spells, your event cards, your extra cards. Command cards are one-time use cards that can give you advantage in battle. Some commands can be activated during the opponent's action step. So we don't actually totally know how the action step works. We know it's during combat, but where specifically in combat, we're not entirely sure. And then others can be treated as pilot, which is good. I love the flexibility that pilots can be kind of, they're a 2-card combo, right? Like at any point in time, you need another card to make pilots work. So the fact that there are command cards that can double as a pilot is some nice flexibility there. And then finally, we have base cards. And base cards are actually one of the most interesting components of all of the different cards types that we have in the game. They're deployed into your shield area, and then you use bases to protect your shields and use the abilities to support you and your strategy. No more than one base is allowed, which means no more than one is allowed in play. So effectively, you're giving yourself additional shields, additional protection. Granted, it's a back and forth. We'll see as we see the different bases that they often cost a shield to come into play. But the fact that the game plays around you being able to fortify your shields is really cool, and a cool take on field cards, in my opinion. Finally, we get the play sheet, and of course we kind of saw an example of this with the teaser trailer that they had revealed a week ago, but now we get full confirmation. So we actually have descriptions of what everything is if we slide down the bottom, but just a quick look here. We have our shields, which is what we're suspecting, and then we've got the base area just on top of the shields. Got the battle area where we're going to be playing our units. Got the resource deck, which goes into the resource area. Honestly, naming convention wise, really wish they went with something else than just resource, but like, okay. Also wish the discard pile wasn't just called trash, but okay. And then of course you got your deck in the top corner here. So deck, this is where you place your deck and where you draw from. Your resource deck is where your resource deck goes. You got your shields, where you take 6 cards from the top of your deck and place them face down at the start of the game. So this game is a 6 shield game. And then the resource area is where you place your resource cards. You can play a card if any number of resources you have is equal to or greater than the card's level. So we'll see that in just a second about how levels and costs work. The second turn player places 1 EX resource at the start of the game. So it's like a token. It's like the energy marker if you played Fusion World, or it's like a coin if you played anything like Hearthstone. On top of that, no more than 5 EX resource tokens are allowed, but it's interesting that you're allowed more than 1. Usually with a lot of these games, you are only allowed 1. So the fact that you can have up to 5 means you can actually like ramp up to like 15 resources at any point in time, which is very interesting. And then we've got the battle area, of course, is where we deploy our units. No more than 6 units allowed. 1 pilot per unit. Then there's the base. Bases are deployed here. Place an EX base here at the start of the game. So very cool. You can start the game with a base, which has that added protection. And remember, unless they're vanilla, the vibe is that a lot of bases have abilities. So you just start the game being able to set the tone of like what your deck wants to do, which is really cool. And then finally, the trash, of course, is just your discard pile. To pay for the cost, you have to turn your resource card sideways. But there's 2 components when it comes to playing a card. So here we can see the Gundam here has a level and has a cost. The level is your maximum resources. So every turn you gain 1 resource, which ups essentially the level of which you can play cards. And then you pay the amount that the cost says. So here this Gundam is a level 4 with a cost of 2. So like we can see here, as long as we have a minimum of 4 total resources available, we can play cards of that level or less. And then because we're allowed to play it, then we pay the cost. So we have 4 resources here. We're allowed to play the Gundam. We look at the cost. We pay 2 of those. So we'll turn those 2 sideways. My bad, didn't realize how big I was. Sorry about that, guys. So then the turn progression. And the only thing that they don't go over here is combat, which is oof, because it'd be really nice to understand how exactly the action phase works, but we'll have to wait and see until they decide to reveal more details on that front. So there's a start phase where we bring everything back to active. There's the draw phase, you get the draw card. Resource phase, draw 1 card from your resource deck and place it in the resource area. So we are going up 1 resource every turn. Main phase, you may play a card from your hand, activate and activate / main ability, or attack with a unit. So this game is an open main phase game, which I absolutely adore. I do prefer those kinds of games personally. So there's no dedicated battle phase like in Magic the Gathering or Battle Spirits. You're able to go in and out of combat and flow into your main phase and play cards from there. Then finally, end phases where everything closes out. And that's all they have here in terms of how to play. So again, nothing about how combat specifically works. All we know is that What we do know is that when cards attack each other, they deal their attack to each other. So it's not just like a one-way thing. If I have a 4 attack unit and I'm attacking to another 4 attack unit, we'll deal 4 attack to each other. And of course, like we have seen, damage sustains over turn. Shifting on over to product, right? When is the game releasing? We don't know. It's releasing at some point in 2025. But as Bandai tends to do with their games, we're getting some kind of super pre-release essentially. So the Gundam Card Game Edition Beta. Be sure to get this special set. With Edition Beta, you can be among the first to play, and that specifically is releasing December 7th. So it's got a bunch of cards, it comes with booster packs, a bunch of different things, and we're actually going to be showcasing all the different cards that have been revealed in just a sec. So the Edition Beta is all you need to start playing the game right away. This product contains everything you need to play and start building decks, including booster packs, a card set, dice damage counters. Use the included booster packs and card set to build a deck, be among the first to enjoy the Gundam card game. So it's essentially like a fat pack for you guys who are like old Magic heads. It's essentially like a starter kit that comes with a little bit of everything that you need. And there are going to be 3 different ways that we can get them. There are more if you live in Japan, but hey, that's kind of just that Japan advantage. So Bandai Card Game Fest. So you are going to be able to get it if you're going to Utrecht, which is in December. And then in January, the Dallas Card Fest is going to be another opportunity to be able to get there. I imagine the lines are going to be incredibly long to be able to get your first hands on this. So you guys know how it is. You're going to have to fight for your spot to be able to get yourself some product. At participating Bandai TCG stores, I love that we're bringing this to stores as well. So it does look like shops are going to be able to hold beta events, which is really cool. And then finally, Premium Bandai. Best of luck to those of you guys who are attempting to go through that means. And we've got the featured series. So set 1 will showcase these 5 extremely popular and extremely safe series, in my personal opinion. So Mobile Suit Gundam, obviously the OG Gundam here. And we got Gundam Wing, we got Gundam Seed, Unicorn, and then the Witch from Mercury. So very happy about the selection. Obviously, things like Wing are a big nostalgia bait for a lot of people like myself who kind of grew up with that being our first real Gundam. And then things like Witch from Mercury being a really popular recent inclusion that has really upped as an easy to try from the series as it was like just a one-shot. And then here's all the final item details. $70 is kind of crazy, dude. But you do get 16 booster packs, 1 guaranteed legend rare, which I think is their alternative of like a secret rare. And then you get like a card set, you get your play sheets, and you get your damage counters. So a lot of really cool stuff there. But of course, we got a bunch of card reveals, not only from the presentation itself, but from this website. And like I was alluding to earlier, we actually have Spiel, which is a game show happening right now, where they actually have a few cards revealed. So we're actually going to be breaking those. Very exciting stuff. Which actually, if you guys want to be able to talk about the cards, talk about reveals, talk about the game, I actually started a Facebook and Discord communities to be able to chat with that. So depending on what your social platform is, links to those will be down in the comments down below. You guys are definitely going to want to check that out. Now, be mindful that some of them are translated, some of them are English, depending on where I was able to source them. So I just tried my best based on Google Translate. Some of these things may differ when we get the full English translations, or someone else that's better than myself is able to translate them officially. So something to note in the top right corner here of this RX-72 is that we get LR, so Legend Rare, so it does seem like that's their SR alternative. So here we have a level 4, so we need 4 maximum resources. Cost 3, I need to pay 3 of those resources to be able to play this unit card. Here we see the little indicators here. My gut feeling is that this is a color indicator. From the looks of it, we're going to be starting off the game with 4 different colors, and there may be a 5th introduced later, which is no surprise knowing how Bandai tends to play their games. Presumably yellow seems to be the color that's like missing from how they typically lay out their games. So here, this RX-72 has 2 abilities. First one, heals 2 at the end of the turn, and this is why my prediction is that damage carries over turn, because otherwise why would this card have a heal ability? And then finally gets AP +1 if flying a base. I'm not entirely sure if that just means like if there is a base that you have there, or if it's a base with a specific flying type, but just something to keep in mind. Moving on over here to this Vanilla Gundam. Vanilla units won't show us much, but they do show us the baseline of stats, right? Effectively, hey, level 4 is going to roughly be about these kinds of stats, assuming it has no additional abilities or something of the sort. So here we've got a level 4 2 cost. Stats-wise, we see it's got 3 AP, 4 HP. And on the bottom left corner there, you can actually see Amuro Ray is the Link pilot. So if any additional abilities that would be provided by a Link there would be happening with that pilot. Talking about Amuro Ray here, we have a level 4 1-cost pilot card. Burst. Burst is effectively life triggers. Yes, we are a shield trigger-based game. Quite a few cards have burst abilities. So, hey, I know that life triggers can be very divisive between people, but just to say, that's the thing here. So burst, add this card to your hand. If your card doesn't have a burst ability, it just goes to trash. It doesn't go to hand or anything like that, so you don't get those additional cards. So Amuro over here provides +2/+1, so placed with any unit. Those are the base stats that he provides, and then he has the additional pilot ability when paired, so you're pairing it with the unit, of course. Choose one enemy unit with 5 or less HP and rest it. So it does seem like blue is going to be the rest color. Very interesting there. Then we've got Intercept Order, so there's our first command card. Level 4, 2-cost. Burst, choose one enemy unit with 5 or less HP and arrest it. And then main/action. Of course, action is that interactable step when your opponent declares an attack. How specifically that's going to work, we're not entirely sure. Choose 1 to 2 enemy units with 3 or less HP and arrest them. So pretty powerful card in my opinion. This kind of like Thorn Prison and Battle Spirits, and that card was like super impactful. So the ability to be able to do so, pretty good. Moving on over to our first base card that we're looking at, we've got White Base here, level 3, 2-cost, 0 AP, but the fact that AP is there at all is really funny because it makes me feel like there are going to be some bases that actually deal damage, which is really cool. And then 5 HP. Burst, you get to deploy the space. When deployed, add 1 shield to your hand. And we're actually going to see that most bases, at least of the ones that we've seen so far, do actually cost you a shield to deploy them. So it's this balance of you're protecting your shields in a way, but it's going to cost you a shield to be able to do so. And then as an activate main once per turn ability for the cost of 2 resources. If you have 0 units in play, play up a 3/3 token. If you have 1 unit in play, play a 2/2 token. And then if you have 2 or more units, play a 1/1 token. So really solid in terms of just having like somewhere to be able to dump your resources into in the late game and just get yourself additional units turn over turn. Moving on over, we've got a Show of Resolve, level 4, 3-cost command card, main draw 2. Draw cards, just going to do what draw cards going to do. Then we're shifting over to what I presume is red. It's very pink, it's very mauve, but presumably this is red. So here we've got Sinanju on your turn high mobility, and it hasn't been confirmed what specifically high mobility is, but my presumption is that high mobility is something like flying. So it means that you can't be blocked by cards that don't they themselves have high mobility, because we see that some cards get high mobility during your turn, and then we see some cards that just have like high mobility all the time. So my presumption is that it's effectively like MTG flying, but we're gonna have to wait for confirmation on that one. And then the ability I'm not too sure with, so like if someone's got a better translation, please let me know in the comments down below. If this takes damage a level 5 or lower base by 2, I believe was how I interpreted this ability based on my Google Translate foo. Moving on over to green. So there's our first base here for the color. Level 3, 2-cost base burst to deploy this card. And then on deploy, add 1 of your shields to your hand. Then if it is your turn, deploy 1 rested Char's Zaku 2, which is a 3/1 unit token. And it does seem like the Zaku archetype plays into just playing a bunch of tokens. It feels like that's kind of what it's trying to do. So here we actually get our first look at a command/pilot combo card, which is really cool. A level 4, 1-cost command, Peaceful Timber. Action. During this battle, your shield area can't receive damage from enemy units that are level 4 or lower. So it seems like a really dope card defensively. And then past that, you actually have the bottom part, which Katra can be used as a pilot, which gives +1/+1. No abilities, but the flexibility of a command card that can also be used as a pilot is really nice in terms of being able to give your unit haste or just being able to give it stat buffs. With Katra in mind, we actually move over to his own Gundam. So Gundam Sandrock is a level 5 3-cost unit. On deploy, you may deploy 1 Maganak Corpse unit from your hand, so cheating out cost there, which is really nice. And then obviously the Link pilot being Katra himself, and it's a 4/4 unit. Shifting on over, we got a hero, we've got the boy, the pilot of the Wing Gundam. So level 4, 1-cost pilot. On burst, you get to add this card to your hand. And what I really like here is that at the bottom right corner, you can actually see the indicators with the up arrows, which is effectively saying, hey, I've got an ability that will be able to buff up these stats. And I love when cards utilize that to be able to just make more indications that there might be a little bit of trickery up a foot. So the pilot ability here, this unit gets AP +1 and HP +1 while linked. And of course, linked means that specifically if hero is piloting, the Wing Gundam, because we can tell that from the bottom corner here. It's effectively saying that this is the Link pilot. And then the Wing Gundam here, which looks to be the first card of the green starter deck, a level 6 4 cost unit, Breach 5. So Breach is like piercing, which means they'll be able to push damage into the shield area after going over a unit. And 5 specifically means that it's piercing for 5 damage. So the way that damage works when it comes to the shield area is that if there's a base, you're dealing that damage to the base. And then if it's a shield, no matter how powerful the attack is, you're always taking 1 shield, unless for whatever reason there are cards that say take additional damage. So it's one of those things where Breach 5 will deal 5 damage, it'll deal 5 damage to the base, and if there's a shield, it'll take away 1 shield. Additionally, the Wing Gundam has an additional ability. This unit may choose an active enemy unit that is level 4 or lower as its attack target. Really powerful. Green doing the piercing things that Green does, like we see in Digimon, and the fact that that's translating over. I have a ton of fun that you can board control while still apply pressure. Very solid. Big fan. Then we've got Zaku, and like I was saying, the Zaku stuff seems very oriented around tokens. So I have a level 3 2-cost unit. Gives 3/2 in stats. When played and when destroyed, play a rested 3/1 token. Then we've got our pilot in Char. Burst, add him to the hand. During the attack, he also gets a power +1, and it's a Flink. And if you're a Link unit, then it gains high mobility, which again, I believe is kind of like flying. Though, as a bit of a setback, you cannot block. And of course, Char here giving a +1/+1, an additional +1 power during the attack. Moving on over, we've got First Contact, and it's kind of interesting because it kind of indicates a little bit more of what Green is doing, right? We've seen Breach, which means that Green is going to be doing some piercing stuff, but it looks like it's going to ramp as well. So level 3 is 3-cost command card, a burst, place 1 EX resource, and the fact that it's an EX resource is really neat because it means that even if you're hitting it while you're at 10 resources, you're actually going to be able to go to 11. And then otherwise, if you're just playing it for hardcore, you're just getting 1 rested resource. So very typical in Bandai games that for 3 costs, you're able to get your first ramp off. Moving on over from there, we've got the Wing Gundam Vanilla. Of course, Vanilla is not really showcasing much, but base stat lines looks like for a level 5 2 cost, 4/3 is roughly the stat lines that we're looking at. Moving on over to White, and White looks like it's going to be Gundam Seed as well as some Witch from Mercury. So to kick it off, we have the Ale Strike Gundam, a level 5 4-cost unit. So from the looks of it, it's not every unit can block. It's specifically that units must have blocker to be able to interact with your opponent in that way. And then when paired with a level 4 or higher pilot, choose 1 enemy unit with cost of 4 or less HP, return it to the owner's hand. So it does look like White is also going to be able to bounce cards back to the opponent's hand, kind of like how White works in Battle Spirits. From the Ale Strike Gundam, we move on over to Gundam Aerial. So I have a question mark here, but it actually turns out that the alt art that we're going to see over at the end of the video actually is an alternate art version of this Aerial, so we know what she does. So Gundam Aerial is a 3/3 level 5 for 3 cost, but if you have 4 or more command cards in your trash, so it looks like White's going to be maybe that more control-y, spell-heavy type of color, you get to lower the cost of this card from your hand by 2, effectively turning this into a level 5 1-cost unit. We're on over to Soletta, and I love Witch from Mercury as a series, so I love to be able to see these characters represented in some way, shape, or form. So she's a level 4 1-cost pilot. First, add this card to your hand. She gets +1/+2 in stats, and then on attack, once per turn, choose 1 of your resources set as active. So it's really cool because the turn she comes down, if she's linked, she's effectively replacing herself because you can attack right away with that unit, and you'll get that 1 cost back. And then it's kind of something that pays itself turn over turn. You know, imagine you having 2 or 3 Soletta paired units on board. Now you're getting like an additional refresh of 2 or 3 resources, which can be really powerful. Then we've got the Witch and the Bride. So a level 5 2-cost command card, burst to activate this card's main, and then main/action, of course, action being the phase that we get after attack declarations. Choose 1 enemy unit with 5 or less HP, return it to the owner's hand. Deceptively powerful. Dream Bomb is a fantastic card in Battle Spirits, and I feel like it'll also translate really well with this card. And then finally, we've got the Archangel, which is a level 3 1-cost white base. On burst, deploy this card. On deploy, add 1 of your shields to your hand. So once again, it does seem like whenever you play a base, you will be costing yourself a shield to do so. Then activate main once per turn for the cost of 2. Choose 1 friendly unit with blocker, set it as active, can't attack you during this turn. Shame means that we're not going to be able to dual attack twice with our unit, but at the very least, it does mean that we can attack with our blockers and still get them back as blockers afterwards. Then we've got the Strike Gundam, which is a level 4 2-cost unit, 3/4 in stats, with of course the Link pilot there being Kira. Then we've got Overflowing Affection, a level 2 1-cost command, draw 2, then discard 1 card. Fantastic consistency piece. I think this kind of card's going to see a lot of play. So those are all the mechanically unique cards. There might be actually one more that we haven't seen, but like I was saying, Spiel is a game show happening in Europe right now, and they actually have a display case with a bunch of different cards, of which we see some really sick alt arts. There's a few that they've shown, but the angle of the picture isn't fantastic. It's kind of hard to tell exactly what they do. So we're going to talk about those when we get better quality pictures, presumably by the end of the weekend. Nevertheless, though, we do see some of the alt arts here. So we do have the alt art of the Wing Gundam that we've seen previously, and this card's absolutely sick. The game has a bunch of original art, which is awesome. And if we lean into these different art styles, it's going to be fantastic. We're about to see an aerial, and that card's absolutely amazing as well. So level 6 4-cost. Once again, Breach 5 unit. This unit can attack anything that's level 4 or lower, even if they're in active mode. So absolutely fantastic looking card. And if we look in the aerial, we got this color stuff, which is amazing. So again, that's that same aerial where she gets a cost reduction if you have 4 or more commands in your drop area. So absolutely love it. Love that we're going with this like deep inks color. A lot of blacks, but then we've also got this sort of like explosion of color. This card looks fantastic. And thankfully, it's not just the Gundams that are getting all the love, the pilots are getting some love as well. So here's the full art silhouette of Mercury also, which I love the character in this card. And finally, our last new card to look at is Banagher Lynx, which is a level 5 1-cost blue pilot. When paired, if this is a Link unit, draw 1 card and then burst added to your hand. So +2/+2 in stats, which is very solid, and then replaces itself whenever it pairs itself to a Gundam, which is exciting to see. And that is everything we've seen so far. Like I said, Spiel had a few more cards that we had seen in people sharing pictures from their attending the event, but we don't know, like I really wasn't be able to tell what they did so far, so I didn't feel like it'd be appropriate to kind of share those here at the moment. But I'm super excited to get more news, see what's up. We're quite away, right? Like we're not going to be able to get our first hands on the game until December for those who are able to attend Bandai Card Fest Utrecht, and then there's the Japan events, and then there's going to be the January Card Fest in Dallas as well for everyone here in North America. So it's going to be a little bit, but hey, we're going to start getting reveals over the next, I mean, we're what, 2-3 months out? So quite a bit of times before then, but super excited to hold news, super excited to talk about the game. And I love the fact that it seems like we're really bringing in interaction into the Bandai mold. That's what I loved about Masters. That's what I loved about Battle Spirits, and kind of what I feel like is missing whenever I play something like One Piece or Fusion World. So the fact that we're digging into this interaction, and like the fact that we have the mixture of like the base cards and how you manage your shields based on having a base there and protecting yourself while giving units. And do I give this unit haste by attaching a pilot, or do I wait for a link ability? And depending on how the action timings work, maybe you can bluff your opponent and play around them there. So I'm really excited to kind of see how it all plays out. And from a gameplay mechanic standpoint, it feels like a good culmination of what Bandai has done. And don't get me wrong, like I'm someone who would love Bandai to stray a little bit away from their formula every now and then. But hey, if it's kind of like the best ofs of all of their different games, and it really plays out in a way that feels refreshing, which is looking like it will be, and as beautiful as these alt arts and everything is looking well. So that's it. Subscribe if you guys want to keep up with the videos. I'll keep on pushing them out as we get more news. And that's it. I'll catch you guys on the next one.